Peace and blessings on this beautiful Thursday morning, man. This is a bonus episode. Normally don't do this. This was supposed to be my guest last Wednesday. Our schedules are ridiculous to try to get him on. Before I introduce you, let me shout out my sponsor, Lehigh Vape. Go there for all your vaping needs. It's at 822 Nazareth Pike. If you want juice, if you want hardware, the latest equipment, they have everything you can need. Tell them TJ sent you. Again, that's Lehigh Vape, 822 Nazareth Pike. Now for my guest, the one and only, the host of Chatting with Staxx, Bill Staxx, my guy. Peace and blessings.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me on, bro.
Yeah, thank you for being on. It's about time.
Yeah, I know.
This is months in the making.
Yeah, the phone tag and all that. And I was supposed to do your show first. When I started this whole podcast thing, I was supposed to do your show first, but my nerves got the best of me, man. And
it's funny because we done set this up so many times to do.
I know.
And we just couldn't lock it in because apparently you have a nerve disorder.
Man, I'm not used to being on. People don't know this, but I'm not an internet guy. I'm not used to this video stuff. Right. I'm used to being on the streets doing crazy, stupid things. And
for sure,
I changed my life, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to do the right thing now, and
we're going to get right into it. We're going to start at the beginning. Where are you from? Tell the people.
Bristol, Connecticut. Same place as Aaron Hernandez, ESPN, Radar from MASH. There's a lot of different people that came from this town. And Bill Staxx came from this town too.
Shout outs to Bill Staxx. What was your upbringing like in Bristol, Connecticut?
So I grew up with my mother, and my father wasn't around. He left before I was born. And I grew up with an older brother, younger sister, and it was hard when we were younger, keeping the stove open for heat and all that, government assistance, and we were moving around all the time. When I was in first grade, we used to walk to school. I started walking to school, and I can't even fathom a first grader walking a mile to school. Right. Like, I don't understand, but back then it didn't matter. So we used to walk to school. And by the time I got around 10, 11 years old, I started getting involved with the wrong people in the neighborhood. I lived in a project.
Okay.
So I started hanging out with them and, smoking cigarettes, drinking beers, and breaking into houses, small things. And
breaking into houses is not really small things at 11 years old, but I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, but things happened, went bad really fast. My first arrest, I was 10 years old. I lit a dumpster on fire with a match at school, and it was a huge fire. And I was all bragging to people, look at that shit, I did that. And then the cops came to my house, and I learned right there, keep your mouth shut.
That's what started it for you, huh?
Yeah, but I still didn't keep my mouth shut going forward. I let my mouth get me in a lot of situations. But so my mother didn't want me to be doing things like that. She wanted me to do the right thing. She would ground me for like a year in my room. She didn't know what to do with me.
Right.
So I liked guns when I was a young kid. So I had a friend that was babysitting, and he got a pistol. He stole it from this house that he was babysitting. And I told my mother I wanted to go to the movies, and I gave the kid the money from me going to the movies, and I bought the pistol off him. So it was a 25 semi-automatic, a little chrome one with a pearl grip. And I was 12 years old, and I don't understand. Like, when I think back, I'm like, it's unbelievable. Because I can't imagine a 12-year-old with a gun.
Right.
But I had one, and I used to sneak out at night, and I would be carrying the gun with me, and I would be sneaking all around the town. And if I see a cop car, I'd run and hide. So one night, me and my cousin snuck out of the house with the gun, and we're walking around, and we'd see a cop lights coming. So we we run off behind this fence, and there's like a river in back of it. So the cop comes. He's seen us running, so he pulls in this parking lot, and we're standing in back of the fence. And I got the gun on me, and I'm scared. I'm like 11, 12 years old. So the cop shines the flashlight on the fence, and it's beaming through the little slats in the fence. And I took the gun and threw it in the river. And then we jumped off the wall into the river and ran underneath the building because the river went under a building. And we came out on the other side, and we were hiding from the cops, and they spotted us, and they were like, "Come up here." So we came up. They handcuffed us. They had our parents come. You know, man, my mother had a husband. She met this man. He was Mr. Connecticut back in the 80s, and he was a big muscle guy, like bodybuilder guy. And he was my stepfather. So you can imagine what happened when I got picked up.
Whoop your ass.
I got my ass whooped. And it wasn't a little ass whooping. This was a real ass whooping. Like fists.
Right.
Not no belt shit, you know? So I kept graduating. So they grounded me for that, but I didn't care. I kept doing the same things. And by the time I got to middle school, I was involved with drugs, alcohol. I was drinking all the time. I would go to school drunk. I would smoke weed before school. It was bad, man. Like, it just progressed really, really fast. And I was involved with the gangs. I was running from one project to another, buying drugs for them, buying alcohol. I just wanted to be accepted by people. So I would do things to be accepted by the crowd. Right. And I would fight anybody. I used to fight all the time in the projects that I lived in. And I was just a wild kid. And fast forward, I ended up joining a gang when I was 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
I joined 20 Love. A lot of my friends were in it.
For the people that are watching and may not know, what is 20 Love?
So 20 Love was a black organization. They were formed in the Connecticut prison system in the 60s and the 70s. And when people started getting released around the 80s and 90s, they started accepting all races into their gang. Their colors are black and green. They had a handshake. They have bylaws. They had structure. It was a pretty intense thing at one point. And I was down for my cause. I had tattoos, and I would do whatever they said to do. I was about it. And
how did you get into this gang?
Well, there's an initiation process. They have you do something to see if you have heart. Okay. And then if you do that.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that they had me punch someone in the face. I had to sucker punch this big ass muscle guy. He was walking down the street when his buddies were in back of him. And it was just a random day. And they said, "We want you to go punch him in the face." And I'm like, I'm scared, man. I didn't want to do it. Right. I'm like, this dude's going to fuck me up. Like, I don't, you just walk up to some random guy and hit him. But I did it. And he grabbed me. And I got the worst end of that one. But after that happened, we went over to this building where so this guy had an apartment. And he ended up getting arrested. So we took over the apartment and made it like our own. Right. So my initiation happened in that apartment. I had to fight two guys for 2 minutes. And after we were done fighting, we hugged, we jumped around. They put the beads on me, signed the paperwork. And then after that, we robbed the liquor truck and we got drunk that night. And it was done deal. I was in it.
You was just in the gang from then on?
From then on. Yeah.
So what was that like moving forward?
I felt obligated to do a lot of bad things. Steal cars, try to get guns from people, selling drugs. Anything I can to get ahead. Anything to cut corners in life, that's what we were doing. And I started to see like treachery in the organization. Okay. People were lying on each other. People were getting bounces for no reason. If you know what that is, a bounce is.
Thank you. Now, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to explain for the people that don't know what a bounce is.
So a bounce is when you cause an infraction in the organization, you have to get disciplined. So if you do something like that, they say you got to catch a bounce, and they put 20 seconds on a clock, and you have to put your hands on the wall like this, and there's a person on this side of you and this side of you, right in back of you, and they get to punch you in your ribs, your stomach, your back for 20 seconds. If your arms go down, the clock starts over, and they tack on time according to what you did.
Mm.
So I caught a couple of those, and for stupid shit. Like one time they said I went to a meeting. Our meetings were always on Sunday. They had dues, you had to pay money. And so at this one meeting, they said we have a green light on the other organization. So I said, okay. So that means when I see them, it's on, right? So one day I'm driving by, there's one of the people in the other organization sitting down with his family at this restaurant. I see him through the glass window. I'm like, fuck that. It's a green light. So I pull over. I get out of the car. I go inside the restaurant, and I punched him in the face, right? Right in front of his wife and his kids and everything. And my friends are with me. They're all in the restaurant, standing right back of me. They see what I did. And then we left the restaurant and we leave. They call a meeting. They call me to the meeting. They say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you causing unnecessary beef? And I'm like, last week you just told us I had a green light to do whatever I want. And now you're telling me I'm causing unnecessary beef? And so they're like, you got to get a bounce for that. And I'm like, okay. So I ended up taking the bounce. And from then on, I had like a chip on my shoulder. Like, these dudes are fucked up, man. They have me do shit, and then I'm getting disciplined for it. So, I mean, there was a lot of things we've done. We a lot. Like, I can't even get into all the shit we've done. But so fast forward, maybe I was in the gang for 2 years, solid 2 years. Right. And I had a really good friend. I grew up with him since I was a young kid. He ended up being the vice president of the gang, and he had a girlfriend. I had a little crush on her. We were young, so
how old were you at this time?
I was about 15, 16.
Oh, you were in love. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. But this was his girlfriend. He's my good friend. I wasn't gonna ever cross the line, man. Yeah, I liked her. She was cute, but you know what I mean? That's all it was. So there's a rumor circulating. Yo, Bill's having sex with the vice president's girlfriend. So I'm like, so they don't tell me anything. They don't confront me about it. They don't ask me about it. I'm hearing shit from people on the streets like, yo, are you fucking with this girl? And I'm like, no. But obviously they didn't believe that. So one day, this friend calls me up and he's like, yo, we're going to go meet these girls at the park. And I'm like, all right. So he pulls up and there's 8 people in this car, man. 8. And a lot of them are from Hartford, the Hartford set. And they were big, man. Big dudes sitting in this car. And so I jump in the car and they're like, yo, we're going to go to the park, meet these girls. I'm like, all right. I'm thinking nothing. I had no clue of what's going on.
Thinking that they're not lining you up.
Nah, man. I'm thinking we're going to meet some girls. These are my boys. So I get out of the car. We start walking up this trail. I'm walking. They're all talking. You know, it's regular shit. I'm walking up this trail. One of them turns around, punches me in the face. And I backed up. My shit's bleeding. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I put my hands up and they just rushed me. Like I tried. And they overpowered me. They beat the shit out of me severely. Like they almost killed me, man. They were kicking me in the face, in the head, chest, back, all over. I was just balled up and I was just covering. You know, there's nothing you could do when there's 8 people. There's nothing. You can't do nothing.
Right.
So one of them is holding my leg up while the other guy's stomping on it. They're trying to break my legs. And it was bad. It was bad, man. So the beating happened for I don't know how long. It seemed like forever to me. And they got in the car. The last thing they did is throw one of my shoes at my face. Bam, hit me in the face, and then they left. They jumped in the car and took off. So I'm all bloody, purple, and I pick myself up. I'm looking around. I'm like, fuck, man, they're gonna come back. These dudes I know these people. I know them. Like,
Right.
I do this with them. So
Right.
I'm like, I know their whole schemes, man. I'm like, they're gonna come back. They're gonna fucking figure shit out. They're gonna think something's going on. They're gonna come kill me. So I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I pick myself up. I start cutting through the woods. I'm zigzagging through yards and shit, you know. I make it to my brother's house and my brother's has a girlfriend with a brand new baby. I knock on the door, and my brother comes to the door, and he looked at me like he doesn't recognize me because I'm so beat up. I was beat up bad.
Mm.
And so he just brung me home. He wanted to bring me to the hospital. I told him no. And then he brung me home, and I just nursed my wounds. And then the next day, maybe it was the next day, maybe a couple days later, I don't really remember. But the girl pulls up to my house, the one that this whole thing happened over. She pulls
Right.
up to my house, and at the time, I was holding all the guns for the organization. And so I had a gun pointed out the window, and I was like, what are you doing here? Like, I'm ready to kill her. I'm ready to kill anyone that comes near me because I feel like I got betrayed, man. This is bullshit, and none of it's true, you know? At this point, when they were beating me up, they didn't say, oh, it's for the girl. I still didn't know what's going on, you know what I mean?
Right.
So when she pulls up, she tells me why it happened, everything, and she tells me they want to see me. There's a meeting they want me to go to, and I'm like, yeah, they were trying to finish me off.
They don't do that.
And she's like, just bring the gun with you, and if anything happens, just shoot him. And I'm like,
Stop listening to this girl. That's the first.
well, I listen. I had the gun pointed at her the whole way,
Right.
and when we got to the meeting, because I don't have fear in my heart. I'm not scared of it. I'm more scared of being successful than I am about doing stupid shit, you know. But you know how it goes. But
Yeah, we're all wired that way.
yeah, so I get to the meeting, and the higher ups in the organization, I come up to them, they're like, "Man, we got to talk to you." And they're like, "We didn't like how everything went down. It was bullshit. So we're going to take care of the situation." And he said, this guy that I was talking to says, anyone that was involved with this situation, I want you to step forward right over here. So they all came forward. And now the person who is saying this, some of the people that were beating the shit out of me are his
Mhm.
blood brothers. Like, these
Damn.
are his blood brothers
Mhm.
from Hartford's chapter. So he has to discipline his own brothers. That's what the type of shit that happens when you're in a gang.
Right.
So they all step forward, and he gets me. I get to pick the people that get to bounce these people.
Mm.
So I made sure that I picked people that weren't involved so that they wouldn't go easy on each other. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want them. I didn't want to pick each other and then be like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I
Right.
wanted that shit to count, man. So I made sure that it counted. They all took their bounces. A couple of them couldn't handle it, and they ended up walking. But so if you can't take a bounce and you just can't take it, right? They You're no good to them. You can't. They make you. They they take care of you on the way out. You know.
Right.
So they all took their bounces, and this dude goes, "Are we straight?" And I'm like, I said, "We're straight, but I'm done, man." I said, "I'm walking away. I don't want to be a part of this shit no more. These dudes already did this grimy stuff, and I can't go back and try to trust people that did
Right.
that to me."
Yeah.
So that's what happened. I ended up walking away from the gang. I had tattoos on me at the time, so I had a home invasion pending. I got caught with a gun, doing a home invasion, and I got out on bond. And when I was out on bond, that's when all this was happening. And so I ended up covering my tattoos, and I ended up getting sentenced to 2 years.
Okay.
So I had to go to prison unaffiliated with my background. So it's like, I know what I have coming to me. I know things are going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to jail. I'm 15, 16 at this point. So I go to Hartford Correctional. It wasn't that bad there. And then I get transferred to Little Cheshire. And Little Cheshire is in Cheshire, Connecticut. It's MYI. It's called Manson Youth Institution. And it is bad. It's gladiator school. You get stabbed there. You get fights. It's bad. It's something I never experienced in my life. But before this point, I've been in lockup a couple times in Hartford. I've been to different institutions, but like they couldn't take care of me, so they committed me type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent probably about 6 months here and there, months going on. So I ended up going in. I walk into the cell in Little Cheshire, and they go, "We're gonna kill the white boy in 6th cell." I'm like, I'm in 6th cell, and I'm like, my bunky's black. So they're talking about me, and I'm like, fuck.
That leaves you, player.
So I start sharpening a toothbrush, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm getting it in. Just because you leave a gang doesn't mean you leave the life behind. Like, you still got to hold your loyalty to yourself, and you still got to walk with your head high. I knew that. I knew that you had to fight in jail. I knew you couldn't run. You couldn't be a punk because they'll take advantage of you. When I was in Hartford, the older people were telling me all this, all the rules that I had to abide by when I went to prison. Right. So I walk out of the cell to go eat. Nobody approaches me. And I'm like, I'm like taken back by it because I'm expecting these people to come and fight me and shit or come kill me like they said they're going to do. Nothing happens. So I go up, there's a line where you got to get your trays. So I get my tray and I sit down. And in this prison, the guards take the seats are little metal round seats. So they pull the seats off so there's nowhere to sit. And they pull off a bunch from each table. So if you count the number of seats versus the number of inmates, there's not enough. And they do this on purpose. They do it so that it causes problems between the inmates with a place to sit when you're eating. So I sat down. I didn't know anything about where to sit, what to do. I didn't know. I was brand new. So I sit down. I start eating. This big black dude comes up to me and he goes, "Get out of my seat." And I'm like, fuck,
here we go.
And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, no, I'm not getting up. And I just keep eating. And that's where I messed up. I turned my back on somebody.
I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing because I know what happens next.
Yeah, he hits me in the back of the head with the tray. And he didn't knock me out though. So I ended up jumping up and we were fighting. Big fight. Food flying, trays are flying. And then I end up going to SAG. And that's like a constant thing. I'm going in and out of SAG, in and out of SAG, in and out of SAG, fighting constantly. It gets to a point where I don't even leave my cell without swinging on people. So the jail ends up calling my mother. And because I was going, they would let me go to visits. I'd have black eyes and shit. And she would be like, "What's going on with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm good. Don't worry about it." With mom, you try not to worry her and stuff. So I end up, the jail calls my mom and gives me a job. They end up saying, "If we give him a job, you think he'll chill out and stop fighting?" So she's like, "Try it. Maybe it'll work."
Something gotta work.
So they gave me a job in the laundry. So I go from, I'm in SAG all the time. I'm in F Cottage. It's like the worst place to be at. And then I go from that to C Cottage. It's a worker dorm. So it's all clean. It's got everything's good. The food's better. Everything is better in this place. And I'm like, I'm liking this shit. So I changed my whole tune. I started working every day. I started working in the laundry room, pressing on the names. So I did that for a long time. And I liked it. Everything started falling into place. I started like getting comfortable in the prison. I get into a little altercation. If you want to hear about that altercation, you could go to another interview I got and check that out because I know we don't got that much time. So I end up getting transferred to another prison. And craziness happens there. Now, this prison has lifers, and I'm the youngest guy in the prison. When I get transferred to this prison, I'm 17, I think. And I'm so young that they can't put a grown up in the cell with me. So they leave me by myself. And that was great, you know? So I'm by myself for about a week and a half. And my birthday comes, and here comes the grown ups. So
Yeah.
my first cellmate was a young kid.
Right.
Cool kid. We clicked off. He was getting released, so he gave me all his tapes, all his food, and all that. So I'm getting used to being in prison. They send this other guy into my cell, right? Now I'm on the bottom bunk. I never told the story either. It's a good one. So I'm on the bottom bunk, and this guy comes. They pop the door. He walks in. I'm looking at him. And I'm something about this guy. Don't like him. Off the rip. Right when I look at him, don't like him. He's a white guy. He just looks like a scumbag, like a fucking, those type.
Not judgmental at all.
No, not being judgmental at all. But when you're in prison, you're very judgmental. You're very aware of your surroundings.
You have to be.
So I end up finding out what he's in jail for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in jail for some shit with kids. So I say, I don't want this dude in my cell. Don't bring him around me. Don't. And they say, we don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I say, if you bring him in here, he's going to get fucked up, man. I tell him that. And they bring him in anyway. So we end up fighting. It wasn't even a fight because he didn't fight me back. I ended up scraping him up. And he was begging to get out of the cell. And I was begging for him to get the fuck out of the cell. So I'm like, I keep asking the CEO, you gotta move this fucking guy. Now he's bleeding and shit. I don't know what else to do. So I go, listen, when they call for meds, don't take your meds. So he has no choice but to listen to me. He's going to do whatever I tell him to do. So he doesn't take his meds that night. I don't know that he has seizures and shit, right? So he doesn't take his meds. I go to bed that night. And in prison, you're a light sleeper. I wake up. He's screaming to the top of his lungs. Flapping around on the ground, he's having a grand mal seizure. So I get up, I sitting in my bed, I'm watching him have a seizure on the floor and shit. Bangs his head against the toilet, blood's everywhere. The guards come to the cell. I jump down off my bed, I press in the button. There's a little button in your cell you could press, and it makes the thing beep where the guard station is. So I'm pressed the button, the guards come. I go, you gonna take him out of here now? No, he looks good. He's good. I'm like, man, this is crazy because I'm like, this guy's got to get out of the cell, and I'm trying to think of a way. So I think of another way. I'm like, so when the guards came to the cell after he had the grand mal seizure, he just sat on the bed. He's bleeding and shit, but he's just sitting there. The guards are like, are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm good. And they're like, we're not taking him out. He's good. So he's holding the thing on his head. He's bleeding. He's all beat up. And I think it was the next day. They pop up the door for rec. Now, this prison was a 23-hour lockdown. So you didn't get time to go do things. You got 15 minutes to eat in the chow hall. You had to go single file line, walk back. And then you had 45 minutes to go take a shower, use the phone, watch TV, work out, whatever you could do. So they pop the door for rec, and only certain doors get to go out now because this is a gang prison. So they don't release everybody at rec. You have red jumpsuits on. It's a bad place. It's a bad, bad place. So, and most of the time when you're walking anywhere in this prison, you're handcuffed, shackled up and shit. It's pretty, it's a level 4, a high one. But they changed it. Since then, it's not a gang prison anymore. Now it's a county. But so I tell the dude, I go, when they pop the door, throw a battery at the cop and hit him with it. So they pop the door. And when they pop the door, I start ripping his mattress up. I start ripping the cloth and pulling and stuffing out. I'm like, he ain't coming back in this fucking cell. He ain't sleeping on this bed. So I start stuffing it in the toilet, flushing the toilet. So it starts overflowing. He walks out the cell, throws a battery at the cop. Bam! Hits him in the face. Cops looks at him like, fuck you do that for? And he's like, and he's laughing, right? And the cop goes, he thought it was a joke, man. He's just like, Brush thought it was a fucking joke. I go, throw another one at him. Fucking hit him again. He hits him again. Bam, right in the face, man. Directly in the face. So now the cop knows this isn't a fucking joke. So I go up to the cop, start fighting him. And so he's approaching the cop to fight him. And the cop tries to grab him. They start tussling and fighting. So the dude starts beating the cop up. And now the cell door's popped open. I'm stuffing the stuffing into the toilet and I'm flushing it as this is going on. And I'm watching it like this. And because I'm like, you're not sleeping on this bed tonight. So he starts getting the best of the cop. The other cop was up doing his rounds when this is going on. So he runs down, right? And he grabs the inmate, slams him on the ground. They beat the shit out of him. So now he's getting beat up for the third time. Jeez. And I don't even feel bad for this guy. If you read his paperwork, you wouldn't feel bad for him either. So as this is going on, all these guards come rushing in. They grab me, right? Because I don't know if they see me stuffing the shit, but they grab me. They lock me in this. It's like a glass, the real thick glass with a door. It's just like a room that they hold you in. I don't know what it's for. It's just like a counselor room or some shit like that. So they put me in this room. They lock the door. So I'm just watching them beat up this guy on the ground. And they drag him out. It's like a trail of blood up the stairs. And then they unlock the door I'm in. They open it. And they say, go get the mop. Go clean that mess up. I cleaned it up. I closed my door. Go on with my day. And that's the type of shit that happens in prison every day. Now, that was a small situation, man. Like,
and we could do this all day, but this is where I'm gonna interject and say the people that I bring on is because they have reinvented themselves. They have reformed. They have turned a negative into a positive. How many times have you been arrested?
26 times.
How long now have you been out of jail?
I have been out of prison. May 1st will be 11 years since I've been out of prison.
And how long have you been sober?
2 years, 8 months, and a handful of days.
And this is why I have people on, because change is possible. Now, Bill Staxx, you got this real popping show, right? Like your show went from zero to hero basically overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fire show. Can you tell everybody that's watching about your show?
Yeah, so my show is called Chatting with Staxx, and I have a show called The Hootie and Staxx Show. And if you want to know about the Hootie and Staxx Show, is me and Hootie. Hootie is an ex-Gambino crew member that changed his life. He walked away from the life, and me and him, we talk about all kinds of things. Sometimes we bring guests on. Now I have another show called Chatting with Staxx. If you can hear the similarities to Spittin with Spitter,
go ahead and explain that, Staxx. We got you here for a reason today. So welcome to the hot seat, gentlemen.
My show's Chatting with Staxx is similar to Spittin with Spitter because I look at Spitter as an inspiration. And when I met Spitter and I seen his videos, I was like, I can do that, man. I could be that guy. So if you're out there, please don't think that I'm biting off a Spitter. I only thought of the Chatting with Staxx thing. It's a respect thing.
Let's be clear. When you see my videos, Hootie got on the phone with me and said, I got this guy who wants to talk to you. He looks up to you. I think y'all will connect in a great way.
Yeah,
You know, so it's been nothing but love ever since.
definitely.
And your show is taking off.
Yeah, we had Larry Mazza on. I had Frank Calabrese. I had Frank DiMatteo. I have tons of people coming on. It's a great show.
I've seen some behind the scenes footage. I know who you have coming on in the future, you know, and these are very, very big things, man. I just want to say I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man.
I'm
I
proud of
appreciate it.
you. When I
Thanks.
call you, you tell me you're on your way to church,
Yeah.
you're reading the book. You know, that's what this is about. We could talk about the war stories all day, but I bring people on to let people know that change is possible.
Yeah, if you want to know about the reason why I told the story in the prison story is because I know that people want to hear that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
But
It's
I
identifiable.
I go to church every day. I volunteer at the soup kitchen. I try to help the homeless. You know, I work a program and it's working for me. And if you're out there and you're struggling, just know that it can work for you too. I'm no different than anyone out there. You can change your life. Change is possible. And me and Spitter are a perfect example.
Most definitely. Now, before and I'm not cutting this short, but me and you could do this. We were just talking before we went on how we could do this for 24 hours straight, and they would have to cut us off.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to ask me before we get out of here?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, man.
Let's get to it.
So, Spitter, where did you get your equipment? How did you start off? um, First off, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate you, man. And honestly, man, you're a big inspiration to me with the way you work your program, and I've seen your weight loss journey. It's just like,
Going to the
wow,
gym, going to the gym as
man.
soon as we're done.
When I seen those pictures, I'm like, this dude is really working. He's about it. He's not, because there's a lot of people that talk a good one,
Oh, for
but
sure.
if your actions are showing the talk that you're doing is not bullshit, then I'm on that side 100%, man. And you're that guy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother.
Definitely are, man. And like your show, the way you interact with your guests and all that, it's a great show, man.
I don't know any, like, my people hit me. Me and my guy was talking last night. And he just chimed in. Shout out to Joe Frazier, Lewis Street native. Whenever I see you pop up in the chat, and I got a special shout out coming for him next week. It's gonna be big, but we're gonna leave that right there. And he
Tupac.
said,
I want to give a shout out to Tupac.
yo, he right there.
Yo, what's good?
He said, hello, family. That's my big brother Al. Me and him are the guys that are on 2M1L Media. He hosts Around the Turnbuckle and Home Team Sports.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you guys in the community post on my page too.
I appreciate that, man. And when we me and him get together, you see it, shooting the shit with Al Spit. It's nothing but laughs, man.
Yeah, man.
Like when he said Tupac, it had me crying.
Bro, my stomach hurt. I was laughing so hard, bro.
Wow.
He said Tupac.
I said, yo, no, he said Tupac. He sure did.
That's funny.
Bill Staxx, I know you're a busy man. I know you got things to do today.
Yeah.
Chatting with Staxx.
Definitely. I want to do a part 2 with you, man. I'm gonna have you on my show. Yeah, we're gonna
definitely. I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Definitely. I gotta pin you down now because I know you're gonna be elusive with me.
Yo, because you did it with me so much. So it's only right.
I didn't mean it, man. You know.
That's my other brother chiming in too. My other brother Scurv, he said real recognize real. Most of these dudes don't look familiar.
What's good, man? I want to give a shout out to Hootie282. I want to give a shout out to all my people out there. You know who you are.
Shout out to Hootie because he's the one that made this whole connection happen.
Yeah.
Months ago.
Hootie's my guy, man.
He said, I got a guy for you. Shout out to Hootie, was just on Vlad.
Yeah. Big.
He wasn't saying nothing to get indicted though, because you know Vlad will get you indicted.
He'll try.
He'll try like hell. But
He'll say,
listen,
when did that murder happen?
yeah, speak loudly into the microphone.
Yeah. Oh
But
man.
listen, that's all we have today for chatting with Staxx and spitting with Spitter. My God, man, it's been nothing but a pleasure. Much blessings to you.
Thank you, man.
I'm sure I'll hear from you sometime this evening.
Definitely.
Most definitely. Hey, if you're just tuning in now, go to 2M1L Media. Go click that like. It's a pet peeve of mine, and I'm gonna say this to you too, because I don't think you say it. Oh, go smash that like button. Stop using that. Stop saying go smash the like button. It just don't sound good.
Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell so you can get our videos every time they drop. Boom.
Boom. Straight like that. Go to 2M1L Media. Go with Chatting with Staxx. Go to
Q718. Q718.
And with that, we are out of here. Have a great day. Be blessed.